Welcome to the NEPA Scene Podcast. We're coming to you live from Cole Creative in downtown Wilkes-Barre. I'm Rich Howells. I'm the founder and editor of NEPA Scene.
I'm John Popko. I work in radio.
I'm Brittany Boot, and I am a photographer. I own a studio called Boot Photography Studio.
So this is our introductory premiere, live, a bunch of other adjectives, episode that we're doing to kind of introduce you to the show. We obviously don't have any guests or anything this week. You're just going to kind of get to know us a little bit. We're going to kind of interview each other, talk about the local scene a little bit, why we're doing this show, which is something that I don't think anybody else is doing in the area. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Before we get to that, I just want to thank Marky Denenbaum at 258 Studios in Scranton. We did, I believe, 62 episodes of the original NEPA Scene podcast there, which was mostly audio. We did have a little video sometimes, but it was mostly an audio show on iTunes, SoundCloud, and things like that, which this will also be available on that tomorrow. But we did a really fun show, and it was a good time, but Mark has a very successful business and just got too busy to really continue doing it. So, as bummed as I was, I kind of got busy with other things too, the business end of the website and things like that. So unfortunately, we couldn't really continue the way that we were doing it. And our other co-host, Lauren, had moved to New York, so, we were kind of out of co-host and stuff as well. So, when I saw what Gerard was doing here, Gerard runs Cole Creative, which is in downtown Wilkes-Barre. Really cool internet marketing place. Highly recommend them, and I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting here and they're doing this for us. They do some really, really cool, interesting stuff in the area, and we're going to work with them a lot in the future. You've seen some of their stuff on our site before. We featured them a few times, and so it just kind of worked out that they started doing the live stream Facebook stuff. That's something I wanted to get into because I think we could reach a new audience with that. I think there's a lot of people in Northeast PA who still don't know what a podcast is at this point. So it might be easier to kind of ease them into it if we have a live video thing that they could just click on and watch and that kind of thing. So I think that would, get new people to come in. So I'm hoping that's why you've tuned in and you'll give the show a chance going forward. We're going to do this every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So I want to thank Gerard and Holly who work here at Cole Creative before we get started. So now I want to ask you, Brittany, a little bit about yourself. Tell us who you are and what you do, and how did you get into photography?
Well, I grew up here in South Wilkes-Barre. I've lived here most of my life. In my teenage years, I started working in Manhattan as an actress and model, so I did a lot of on-camera work, and I've always been kind of exposed to that world. My contract expired when I was 18, and I didn't resign. I wanted to go to school and kind of like figure myself out and see what I wanted to do. I started taking photos of friends, musicians, skateboarding, stuff like that, and the more receptive people were to my work, the more motivated I became taking pictures, the more encouraged I became. So it just kind of all started coming together, and I started taking pictures, and the more I did it, the more work I got, and the more confident I got, and now I have a studio, and it's really exciting. So
Yeah, you just opened that recently, right?
yeah, it hasn't even been a month.
Where is it?
It's in 40 Fort. If you're familiar with Canteen 900
Yes.
or the Salon Sakari, it's in the building right there off the Cross Valley. It's called the 900 Rudder Ave is the address.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, what kind of photography do you do there? Do you specialize in anything specifically, in portraits or anything?
I like to do portraits. I do a little bit of everything. I find myself gravitating to taking more photos of people, whether it's in the studio or at events, kind of candids, things like that. I do weddings, children. I had a little girl in my studio today who was adorable. It was actually Jeremy from Young Virgo, his little girl. So I like to do family stuff, a little bit of everything. But I do find myself gravitating towards portraits and pictures of people and kind of finding ways to capture people in ways that make them feel good. feel good about themselves and feel like themselves.
Now, you do concert photography as well. You've done some of that kind of stuff. We've had some of your photos on the site and everything. And you've organized shows and stuff. You've done a lot of concerts and things like that in the area. What kind of shows have you done, and what made you want to get involved with that?
Well, I was always a very social person and very outgoing, and I would find myself at different events and at different shows, and I just kind of found myself in positions where the opportunity would arise that I would be able to book a band or be able to throw an event or throw a party or host a benefit or do things like that, and they were successful, so I just kind of kept doing it. So I don't do it as often as I would like to, but I definitely do it as much as I can, and every time that I have an opportunity to put something together, I try to make it happen. I have a charity event that I host every year too, and that's always kind of had a music
Shots for Tots.
Shots for Tots.
Right.
Yep, it's a good time.
Which is great. I mean, I think it's a little weird, hanging babies upside down and making them drink. I think that's really, it's not for everybody, but it's a unique idea for a charity event. I think.
People are like, no, what exactly do you do with your foundation? Well, I was 21 when I started that, and I was like, what is a better way to kind of get my peers to come out, I was like, oh, booze, that'll work. So, wanted to, kind of do something, have some initiative to affect the world around you in some kind of positive way, whether how small or how big. And, I mean, it's certainly grown, but that was the initiative at the time, and I love doing it. So.
Now, what have you learned about the local scene in doing this over the last few years, and working with artists and going to shows and hosting shows and doing all that kind of stuff?
Well, I feel like I've been very fortunate in the aspect of having the opportunities to do those things, and the idea of just meeting new people and like learning about all the different kind of people that live in this area and getting to know new friends. And what I think was so cool and so inspiring about going to shows or being, hosting shows or promoting shows or trying to make things happen or having any kind of small role or large role and trying to make things happen, the camaraderie between people in this area, I think, is like really cool, and it's unlike anything I've really seen in other places. I mean, not that they don't happen in other places, but I really notice it here, more so than other places, just because I'm here, obviously. But that kind of like sense of just inspiration that people kind of give each other around here, and support, like different bands, especially if they're in similar genres, like they're just in each other's corner, and I think that's like really cool.
Yeah, it's so important. I think there's plenty for just as many people who are like that. There's so many more that are competitive and want to put the other guy down and anything like that. And those people really don't get anywhere.
They don't get anywhere around here, and like they kind of get weeded out. It's like, well, that guy kind of he said some like that guy said some like shitty thing online or whatever, and so that kind of attitude doesn't really fly here in a way that I see. So it's kind of cool that it's just that's the consensus. Like people are like supportive to each other, and people are helpful to each other, and it makes things so much easier to like get things to happen and like get people to come together and get people to come to each other's shows. Right. Like musicians supporting other musicians, artists supporting other artists. Even with photography, like helping others and like answering questions like, oh, I have this weird thing about editing, and like, how'd you do that? And like I know a lot of photographers around here that are just helpful, just as there are that are just like, I'm not really, I'm just here to do my thing, Right. It's anything. Like there's all this, with art comes different territorial styles, and it's doing things in your own language, and there's that aspect to it, but it's also, helping people and being supportive to their work, as opposed to just being an asshole,
I think that's the only way that our site, NEPA Scene, has survived as long as it has, because there is that camaraderie, and there are those people that are supportive and understand what you're trying to do, and they help you out accordingly and stuff like that. I don't think that if I did this in another city, I don't know if it would work. I don't know if another area would be as accepting, or if it would be as easy to do something about it, and to have so much content to write about too. I think people, you have that famous saying, and I know Cole Creative has tackled this, many times too. that there's nothing to do here, in this area, and there's nothing going on, or you hear the scene is dead and things like that, and it's like I have too much to write about
Right.
every week.
It's just
I
not
have
true.
Too many things to cover.
There's things to do. You just got to go do them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you have to open up your mind to other things too. Like,
Right.
I think, if you like music, maybe you should try local theater sometime.
Yeah.
Try something completely different and see if you like it. And maybe you get a different vibe on that. Johnny, I want to talk to you next. So you and I met at a local publication when we were both in newspapers.
We'll need a beer for this, I think.
Yes.
I don't think I brought a bottle opener, though.
I have an opener.
Oh,
I have
fantastic.
one right on my keychain.
I'm such a lush that I actually bought a house key that has a bottle opener built into in it,
Oh, nice. Okay.
and it's in my jacket. So
Oh, of
whatever.
course. But you classed it up with the suit, though.
I'm a working man. Rich.
Yeah. I know. You just came from work. This is not your normal attire.
No,
I understand.
I
I
prefer
said he
jeans.
looks sharp. I think he looks sharp.
Jeans and a t-shirt would
It
be.
looks good. Is that a loyalty haircut there?
Yes.
I-
This is not sponsored by Loyalty. but yes.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Guys, if you're listening.
But yes, it is a Loyalty haircut. I go to James and Anthony and those guys down there, and Zach. They have a really good business going there, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we had them on the old show, and
That was one of your best episodes.
I think so too. It was one of our most popular episodes out of all the ones that we did.
I think that you guys just got deep. You
Mm-hmm.
guys kind of dug deep into their life, and it was cool.
And that's what I'm hoping to do with this show. Is I don't want to just have it be the stiff Q&A back and forth, boring sort of thing. Where obviously we're having a couple of beers, we're hanging out, and I want it to get conversational. I want people to be more honest than they would be, especially in having written for print publications for a long time. People tend to give the stock answers or the things they think people want to hear, as opposed to talking about what they're really thinking about and things like that. So when you get them in a setting like this, after a while they kind of start to forget the cameras and they forget the mics, and they actually just start opening up and talking about who they really are and having a real conversation. That's what I hope to do on this show going forward.
So you and I met at a publication, and I met you for the first time ever there as well. I don't know if you remember.
I remember.
Do you?
I was
Do
like
you?
18.
Yeah. So that expired, and then we took her over on the modeling on the
I
paper.
remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
This
like my
is
first
a
little
twisted
local
little,
thing. I know, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's funny. And this is, by the way, to tell you how DIY and which really boils down to being unprepared we are. This is the first time all three of us are actually sitting together to do this thing. Like there was no pre-planning. There was no let's have a I sent him a very rough outline today of things that we would talk about, and that's it. Like that's essentially
Cool.
Yeah.
We're just going to do this.
We'll see at 7, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, we're down at Franklin's 5 minutes before this
I'm
thing
like, I have time
started.
for a beer, right?
But no, so we met at a publication.
Yes.
We'll say it later, I'm sure. But
Yeah, I'm sure that stuff will.
you probably know where it was.
So what got you? I know why I got involved in that kind of stuff, but why did you get involved in that end of it?
The media in
Yeah,
general,
the media in general,
the
yeah.
scene. Well, I'd have to. Well, I mean, I remember being 18 years old, and actually, I picked up said publication, and I just wanted to be in the bars to go see shows. I just wanted to see these bands play. I didn't want to get drunk. I didn't want to drink beer. I just wanted to see these bands perform because I was a music nut. And obviously I couldn't. And I was in college, and when I turned 20, I was 21, and I was looking for an internship, and I'd have to thank my father for kind of getting me into this business. I was in college. He shot me a message saying this paper was looking for interns, and I said, all right, well, whatever. So I submitted my resume, and before you knew it, I was an intern at the paper. Was there for that summer, and I said during the internship that I wanted to one day be the general manager of that that business. And I was fortunate where I finished college. I got a job working for that paper in marketing, making shit money. Thankfully, my apartment was dirt cheap, and but I woke up every day thinking, can't believe I get paid shit money to do this. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And a year or two went by, and I wanted to make more money, so I got into sales. And then I was the director of advertising, and then I went from there to eventually one day being named the general manager. So it was kind of a quick advancement, so to speak. I think I got off the topic there as to why I got into it. But yeah, my dad was the reason why. Unfortunately, he had passed away before I was able to get the job, which that killed me back then. I remember walking from one building to the next, and you're familiar with the two buildings.
Yeah.
I had my ID card, and I was walking from there to the other building, and I was like, man, he would have been so proud of this. And it sucked that I couldn't share that moment of my life with him, but now I am the guy that I am today, and I was able to meet people like you, and if it had not been for him, maybe I was doing some boring accountant job. So after the paper, I went and worked for radio. And that's where I am now. I work for Alt 92.1, formerly Fuzz, Rock 107, and ESPN. And
so you get a lot of, why did you change from Fuzz to an Alt 92.1? Because that's what everybody's been asking.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple answer. We wanted to get back to playing, new music and introducing the public to new, current stuff. And we felt that Fuzz kind of got away from that, so we felt to get back to that, we had to change the name and kind of start fresh.
Okay.
We didn't want to keep, bouncing Fuzz back and forth. And I love the name Fuzz, but Alt's cool too. It kind of tells you what it is in the name.
Sure.
Because that was the biggest problem with Fuzz is, well, what is it? No one knew what it was.
Right.
And so now it's Alt 92.1.
It was fuzzy, you could say.
Yeah. Oh boy, we'll have to work on that.
Yeah.
We'll have to work on your jokes.
Yes. That's I'm not a comedian. That is for sure.
Stick to writing.
You say fuzzy, I'm like checking my hair. Like, it's like I know about all that. Well, I'm sure he'd be real proud of you.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
Yeah. So, not to bring the convo down a little bit.
No.
I mean, that's you asked me how I started, and that's exactly how it started.
So, when you say that you work for the media, I think you immediately get some kind of scowl, no matter what you do for the media nowadays. But you kind of know how it works behind the scenes in both, papers and radio. So what is how has your perspective on media been different over the years than maybe you think the average person sees media?
There's a lot of work behind the scenes, man. Like it's not like just stuff appears on the paper or over the air, or like there's a lot of production involved with both print and radio and even online. It's like, and people think it just happens.
I think people do. They really think it generates itself.
And everyone's event is or the best and needs coverage. And
yes,
it's tough.
Yeah, it's a constant struggle to figure out what you're going to cover and what you can't get to and things like that. And I think, we've been fortunate to become as popular as we are and get the big social media following that we have that's even bigger than some of the established publications around here, which has, been a blessing and a curse because it's great that we have this audience that, checks us out every week and sees what we're up to and is involved and is interested in what's going on in the local scene. At the same time, there's this constant demand that we do more and more and more all the time. And, and I was going to bring this up later, but I might as well, say it now. Everything from day one has been independently funded, which means it's out of my own pocket, which means, I'm doing the writing, editing, taking photos, covering events, doing all the social media stuff I'm the guy that leaves all the sarcastic comments to all the trolls, which is an important job in itself. I'm the guy on Instagram taking pictures at the shows, all that kind of thing. So, and we've made it, while there are so many contributors that I cannot thank enough over the years who have helped. I mean, we've probably had a little over maybe 20 people over the years that have contributed on and off, whether it's we have weekly columns on different topics, photographers who go out and cover events, writers who have done reviews and things like that, or just covered shows in advance and things. So many really cool people that have basically volunteered their time. But I think people don't realize reading it that that's exactly what it is, that it's all a passion project, it's all volunteer. It's not like we're all rolling in the money and we have these big bucks. And I think there's that perspective on media that we're just these money grubbing shitheads who are just just beating the local guy down to take his money and profit from his art, that we're stealing from them and things like that. And it's totally not the case. Like, literally the reason we're doing it is because I don't think that a lot of the other guys around here and nationally are doing it well enough. Or doing it for the right reasons, I think that maybe a lot of them do put advertising first. I think a lot of them do maybe not necessarily care about the work that they're covering, I can't tell you how many times that I've written about a show in advance and then gone to the show and they're like, whoa, you're here? You actually came? And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, that's why I wrote the story. I like this. I think this is a good thing that you're doing. I want to come and support it. And they're like, well, the other guys don't do that. Okay, well, I do. That's just who I've always been. So, and I think that's important.
I think we've all three of us have been. I mean, don't take this word the wrong way, but I've always considered her like a lady of the night. Because no, I mean, when I was younger, I met you when I was 22.
I was going out.
We were all out.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were all getting nuts. It was just, I was, but
I was too.
No, but every show, if I was there, you were there.
Yeah, I didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, it was fun, sure. And you're still the same way. You're out there. You're going to shows. You're creating shows, and you're going to the shows, and or whether it be the art galleries or theater. It's fun, and it's cool to
support.
Exactly.
You're being supportive.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to shows to be supportive, also for the Jameson, but mostly to support, the musicians and the people that were out there, the people that were throwing the events.
Right.
Because they're not going to happen if nobody comes.
Right. Exactly. And when we start, it was a huge risk going into doing this thing because the big guys around here don't like any competition. And even just a guy with a blog to them is competition. And I've gotten a few nasty words from some guys on top and some people trying to stomp us out before we got started or ripping us off, taking our ideas and things like that, and trying to pretend that they're their own. And so it's been a struggle from the beginning. But I feel like it's funny because I was the guy who was willing to sell out to write. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write for a living. And
there's no money in that.
No, there's absolutely no money unless you're Stephen King. There's no, or Tom Clancy who just pays other people to write under his name. You're not making money as a writer. Even if you're writing for a hit TV show or a big movie or things like that, you're not getting a lot of money, and you're certainly not getting a lot of credit for what you're doing. But that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to write, and so when I got into papers, that was more of just like a temporary thing. I'm going to do this for a while, and then I'll branch off into something else. I really want to write fiction and things. But I liked I liked telling people stories. I liked learning why they did the things that they did, and I liked, I was always a big fan of music. I always went to a lot of shows growing up, and so. I always liked reading about the musicians, why they did, what does this song mean to them, or, I liked being able to get to know them and read more about them. So it was easy to write about those kinds of things. And so I worked my way up from a freelancer to a staff writer to an editor, over a period of 5 years to continue doing what I'm doing and get paid at least a decent amount to keep going and doing it. And I was kind of there was a big corporate takeover, and I was kind of forced out of my job that I had earned, which crushed me. And so within about 24 hours, I'd always had this idea to do an NEPA scene. I always wanted to start my own project and things like that, because I always felt like being in the corporate cogs, you start to realize like a lot of this stuff could be done efficiently and better if I didn't have this person breathing down my neck, if I didn't have to write this report or go to this stupid meeting that means nothing, or listen to somebody who has no idea what they're doing tell me how to do my job and things like that. If we could just eliminate all that, we could have such a better publication and such a better way to do things. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to do this thing, and I'm just going to start doing it. And if people care, great. And if they don't, they don't. Then I'll do something else eventually. But thankfully, people did care and they wanted something, because you hear a lot about like the paper that we used to work at was an alternative weekly. You hear alternative a lot, but how is it an alternative if the same guys who are putting out the regular paper or the other content? How is that an alternative? It's the same people. Right. It's the same thing. It's not an alternative perspective. It's not different. So I felt it was important to cover those things that maybe the other guys didn't care about, or try a different perspective.
Well, I'm super proud of you, man. Just it's been a long time you've been doing this for, and you're keeping it going.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I remember calling you because I had left prior to you leaving.
Right.
And
because you were sick of that bullshit too.
Yeah, well, you know what? It turned into like corporate America running a publication that was locally produced.
Right.
And everyone that worked there was just locally involved. They lived here, they worked here, they die here,
Right.
And these guys from out of town are the ones pulling the strings.
There's a disconnect. I noticed that. There's a huge disconnect, and it showed. You could tell.
Right. Well, when you have, every place has their way of doing things, so to speak. Whether it's right or wrong, they have their way of speaking, their way of doing things, their way of presenting a community. And when you have somebody from out of the area telling you how to do that, or putting their fingers in it, or saying, well, you need to do more of this or that or whatever, that's not the way to run a community newspaper. Mm-hmm. That's not what that's for.
And that was my biggest problem was, well, I probably would have been forced out regardless.
Right.
And I said, well, you know what? I'm not going to spend 9 years here for you to get rid of me.
Right.
I'm leaving on my own terms. And the reason I wanted to leave outside of that was because, the first thing they did was they removed our production department, which is fine. You got to do what you got to do. But every week, I have advertisers calling me saying, John, why the fuck is my ad wrong? This is not what I gave you. It's not what I approved. But I couldn't do quality control because they weren't in the building.
Yeah, they're sending it to another place, and I had the same problem. I'd be editing a page, and I would send it to them, and it would come back, and it's like it's all wrong, and it's all terrible, and now my name's on it. Yeah. So now it's coming out every week, and it's like, oh, well, that guy's an idiot. He doesn't know how to edit, and it's like, well, I didn't do that. It was some other guy who is nameless, in a cubicle, miles and miles away.
Yep. So I wasn't going to let them ruin my reputation and the brand. Right. So to speak, that I built. I know these guys that own these restaurants and bars and businesses, and I consider a lot of them friends, and they weren't going to ruin that for me. And thanks, but no thanks. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you the same thing that I asked Brittany. What did you learn about the local scene, the local musicians, local artists in general? What did you learn over the years?
You were talking and you stole my answer. if you were to ask me that. This area is... They take care of their own. If there's a benefit, if there's an event, it's for a good cause, the flooding that happened in 2011, people got together, they raised a lot of money, Valley with a Heart, all these things. People here take care of each other. Maybe not every day. Maybe they're not helping shovel snow off of their neighbor's sidewalk. But when it matters, when it counts, everyone here has each other's backs, and I think that's important. And
Sure.
there's a lot of talented musicians here. Going off of what you were saying, I've always been a music guy, but I've branched out to theater, and that's great too, and a lot of fun, and a lot of talented people here. I mean, maybe not in New York
Really
City,
extremely talented.
but I mean, I remember. I don't want to name drop, but like Aaron Bruck, who's now in Breaking Benjamin, like him and I used to listen to songs he wrote for Panacea behind Liam's.
Yeah.
Behind Liam's, he's like, dude, you gotta check out this new song we just wrote. Like, and a lot of these guys would kind of like come to me saying like, well, what do you think about this? And I'm thinking to myself like, I'm a nobody,
Yeah,
but
who
like,
am I?
but I feel like I have some kind of like general like ear for like what's good and what's not, and
Right.
I value the fact that they value my opinion and my my thoughts. So thank you guys. But yeah, all the guys from Panacea. I've had I used to live with bands, guys in bands. Lesson One and those guys, and I've just been involved with it. It's just been part of who I am, and I don't ever want that to go away. So that's why now I'm in radio. So I get to still have that. I mean, so it's cool. I'm excited to be a part of this and kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's been, I wouldn't have stuck with it as long as I have if I didn't believe in the people in the area and what we're doing. And I think, and there's a weird, you mentioned the Valley with a Heart, and I think it's such an interesting balance in this area. There's that, and there's this overwhelming cynicism about the area and the people that are here and things like that too. And we're always constantly battling that perception, I think. And I think that might go all the way back to, the old coal mining days, which we still kind of have never really gotten out of, like we're still, even though the mining industry has moved on and, there isn't really as much coal here as there used to be. I think there's still that whole blue collar, hardworking cynicism that goes with that. I mean, they used to say, people think now that the saying is, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, referring to New York. And originally is that you can make it in Scranton. A lot of the vaudeville performers and things would come through Scranton and work for the kind of the hard scrabble people who literally had a penny or a dime to see a show, and that was all they could afford. And they would be kind of harsh. They would really give it to you if you weren't a good performer. And if you could succeed, if you could make a good show here, then you would definitely succeed in New York. So people would come through here, and I think there's still that mentality today. People are still kind of weary and harsh about things if they're local. Oh, well, they're not good enough until they're big. Like for as much as you see the success of bands like Breaking Benjamin or the Menzingers and things like that have come out of here and gone on to national success. The fact that they had to leave to get that national success and then come back as heroes, I think, is interesting. I'm sure you guys have seen this, and I've seen it too. I remember the days when Breaking Benjamin couldn't fill a local bar. Yeah. There was, they'd play those shows, and there was, 10, 15 people there. And then...
Was it the Voodoo Lounge?
The Voodoo Lounge back in the day, and watching them grow bigger and bigger. And now they come back and, they fill the pavilion at Montage Mountain, or they fill the arena up in Wilkes-Barre. And it's like, wait a minute. If you think about that, think of how many cities that are smaller cities, not to cut you off, but how many smaller, you have your New York, LA, and places like that. But like small cities like ours, it's not as common to have more than one successful band, Yeah. We have quite a few.
Yeah, unless you're talking about like New York or Seattle or
right.
like the major cities.
Like a city that of our size, like our population and our culture that's here, you don't see that.
Right.
We have a number of bands, even going back to like Bedford and like that kind of like level in Albatross and like every kind of tier of success outside this area. We have so many. There are so many. Like I feel like that. I don't know how common that is in other places.
Title Fight, Tiger's Jaw,
Motionless in White.
Motionless in
Right.
White. There's so many, and just recently, just within the last 10, 20 years.
And they're good.
Yeah, they're legitimately very good. And they deserve it. They're all hardworking, good people, and they're all people that I could say, personally, that I've talked to, have interviewed, have gone to their shows, that they're genuinely cool people, that they deserve the success. They're not people who don't who got there by stepping on the other guy.
And going back to kind of like creating events or having things happen, those bands when they were kids, which many of them still are, but someone provided an atmosphere for them to express themselves in.
Sure.
To go do their thing, like go put on a show, whatever, not just music, but like someone was responsible for putting that atmosphere together for a group of individuals to come out and like do what they want to do and kill it. You know, so without that, and without putting on shows, and without putting on events, and without being supportive to other people and other musicians, you're not going to have that. You're not going to have people kind of feeling confident or encouraged, to go and to make it, really. You know, essentially, like, without that, it's just, that's the whole importance of, like, what we're doing and what everyone's doing in this area, just trying to, like, make that a reality, create that atmosphere, for people.
Right.
To be themselves in, really, to be comfortable with themselves. And, that gives people the confidence to progress in life, really, and creatively.
And that's, I think it's important for us to cover, those small artists in the same way that we would cover the major artists coming through. We've spent, 2 years not really focusing that much on a lot of the national acts that have come through, but more of the local stuff, because I think that they're the people that need it the most, because those, a lot of these people are so talented, and they could be huge if they have the right opportunities and the right way of going about things. A lot of times it has nothing to do with talent, whether they're good or not. A lot of them are legitimately good. It's a matter of are the opportunities going to fall in place? Do they not have a family that they got to take care of here, and they can't go on tour? Like that kind of thing. But so many of them, I think, just need that extra push from people, and I think people are, they're in the case of Breaking Ben, like I was saying before. You have people now filling the arena for them, filling the pavilion for them, and that's great, and that's great. But where were you guys 10 years ago when they were playing the bar, and they needed that support more now than they ever did? Where were you? Because maybe you just had this attitude like, they're a local band, they're not that great.
It takes a little bit of encouragement.
I think people legitimately just need to give things a chance. They need to go out and try something new.
Open mic.
And we can't forget about Lifer and Nick
Lifer,
Coyle.
yeah.
Nick Coyle is currently writing songs for Cold.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Hi, Nick, if you're watching.
But yeah, it's just like those guys, and they're all good guys.
And they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
And they're doing it well.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one asshole that came out of here who's a prick. There's just not.
Somebody who stands out.
Well, but that's why, because they're not assholes.
Right.
They're not just dickheads going around and being pricks to everybody.
And they've really had to do their time. And I think the assholes come in when they're the armchair critics, the peanut gallery. The people that want to tear anything down. And it's funny because every time that we post about Breaking Benjamin, for example, we have just as many comments of people like, yeah, go, I'm so glad those guys are successful. And you got 20 more people who are like, oh, screw them, they're no good, their songs suck and whatever. And it's like, first of all, that's great. Like if you think that or whatever, keep it to yourself. Nobody gives a shit. At the end of the day, nobody cares that you think that they suck or that they're bad or whatever. Go out and do something that's productive. Actually change. If you don't want to hear them, all right, you join a bigger band and you beat the shit out of them. The
assholes speak the loudest, man.
Yeah.
It's like social media and
well, now they have a huge platform now to do it.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
and they get to hide.
Sure.
Like, oh well, fuck you.
But a big part of like that, like the encouragement and the feeling confident in doing what you do is like you got to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And once you put yourself out there, you're gonna have people that are gonna talk shit, and like you just got to let them do it, because how is it gonna affect you? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You don't have to like get into it with every like idiot that like says something, but like that's, you know, people are programmed to kind of like be judgmental, and it goes back to like that saying, like no one ever like made a statue of a critic, you know what I mean? No one ever really like honored somebody who just kind of like incessantly behaves in that manner, you know. But you're gonna have it. It is inevitable if you're putting yourself out there and you're putting your art out there, which is like, you know, the depth of who you are really, or who you want to be, you know, and how you want to express yourselves. You're gonna have people that are gonna be like shitty towards it and be a little hateful or a little hurtful, and you kind of can't let it affect you, you know.
I shouldn't be doing this. I can't talk. Like I should call me Johnny Mumbles, you know. But like no, it's just like I'm happy to be part of this, and
me too.
Yeah, it's. So any haters, sorry if I mumble. It's all good.
And that's, you know, like I'm not, you know, I have a face for radio. Like I am not an in front of the camera guy. It's not the primary thing that I want to do. I didn't even want to do the audio podcast part of it. But I thought, well, nobody else in our area is doing this. And if I just sit there and complain and say, oh, these guys should be doing this, these guys should be doing that, just do it yourself.
Yep.
Just do it. Make it happen. You know,
do it.
Create your own opportunities. If the opportunities aren't here, which you hear all the time, well, then you have to make them.
Yeah.
You know, and
put yourself out of your comfort zone.
Right.
So
Step
just
outside
like,
the box.
Yeah, just like, you know, working out, lifting weights, you gotta, you know,
Kick the
be
butts in
uncomfortable.
half.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm in the scene. Like let's
Just
fucking
do it.
talk. Let's have some beers.
You know.
Let's interview some cool people
And once you do things, more things happen.
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
Doing things leads to doing more things. You know, we're talking about more ideas, and that whole aspect of like influencing people or inspiring people or just like bullshitting about whatever.
right.
You know, like you can't. I just don't think you can really affect anything without, you know, doing. If you're gonna say you're gonna do something, do it. You know, if it's successful, awesome. If it's not, that's fine too. You know, at least you know you have an experience, and I think a big part of, and I've said this before, but like, you have like your leaders in the scene, or you know, like the people who you respect or look up to. You know, it's not about, you know, being that leader, but inspiring other leaders, inspiring other people to do things. You know, like there might be a kid that's graduating high school and he loves the NEPA scene and he looks up to you, and he, you know what I mean? Like you're inspiring someone else to be like, if he can do it and he did it on his own, I can do it too. You know, so it's just.
If that stupid
You're
bald
doing the
schlub
thing.
can do it. Jesus, any asshole can do this. You know, like. But it's true. Yeah, it's true. You know, like, and I don't want people to look at, like, whenever I post through our social media or anything else, I never say me. I say we, because it's all it's all of us. You know, it's every. You know, it's the whole team. And I feel like every time that I post, too, that I represent the 20-some other people that help me out, that produce those articles, that produce the photography, that go out to events and things that I can't get to, and you know, do those kinds of things, because we're all on the same side. We all have the same goal. We all want the scene to succeed. We want people to succeed when they're out there putting themselves out there.
You're a fucking matchmaker too.
I am actually. You know, it's funny you mention that. I just got a message the other day from a young girl who who used to come to, she actually was there last night. Comes to our open mics that we do, and she met her current boyfriend there. And she said, but it was more than that. She said, you know, I was really lonely and depressed, and I didn't think anybody cared about me. I don't think anybody cared about my music. And then I saw that you guys were hosting this open mic, and I thought, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go. I'm going to try it out and see what it was like. And immediately she was embraced by the people that were there. It was, you know, gave her that encouraging pat on the back and said, yeah, you're good. You know what? You could do even better. You know, come back next week and try this, or, you know, whatever. And she met all these other people through that open mic. And I thought about it for a minute, and I thought,
What a positive effect. On
yeah,
someone's life.
what if I decided, no, I'm not going to do that, you know, because I haven't been on stage since I was in high school doing plays, you know, like it's not my thing. I don't want to get in front of people all the time. I don't want people to see my stupid face, but I also want these people to succeed, and I want these things to happen.
Put yourself out
So you have to do it. Somebody has to be the guy that says, all right, I'm going to suck it up and I'm going to do it, even if I don't want to. If I don't do it, somebody else probably won't.
Right.
It's what I've seen you do, and you see a lot of it now on current television, and the whole body shaming thing. And like, I've seen, people that have gone on stage at events that you've done, like the open mic stuff, and don't judge a book by its cover, because the stuff they were doing was incredible. And if there wasn't the outlet that you provided for some of them, they'd probably still be sitting home, maybe considering suicide or whatever it might be. It's like so like what you're doing for this scene is great, and it's a great area, and I don't want to get deep into.
Well, there is a darkness to art. There's a darkness to artists, and there's a darkness to people, and that's just a reality. So giving people that feel that way or have that, to express, and finding ways to express it, and giving people an atmosphere to do that, could profoundly change someone's, life, really,
Sure.
Or their approach to, what they want to do and how they want to do it. They might find a sense of community, and that's I think a big reason why I feel very, motivated to do that. It's a sense of community, and it's a sense of making people feel comfortable with who they are.
Sure.
Through art, and that's huge,
Yeah.
And an open mic is, because even say someone bombs, people, you know what I mean, and all right, again, there might be one asshole that's yeah, but people are still supportive, and it's whatever, man, go do it next week, or
how many comedians have failed, bombed?
Yeah, it's just part of it's the name of the game, they're not all.
Like Bill Burr didn't wake up and come out of the womb and be telling fucking funny jokes. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Well, I was thinking about that last night too. I was actually gonna, wrap up with this, so it kind of works well with, where we're going with the conversation. Anyway, there's 3 beers left. Okay, all right.
There's 3 of us.
Hey, we'll keep going as long as you want. You guys want to keep watching.
We'll open these.
We'll keep going.
We don't want to bore you.
Yeah. Speaking of which, if you have any comments or questions or things you want us to talk about or whatever, feel free to leave them, down in the comments, and we'll read them. Gerard will be kind enough to send them to me, and we can talk about what you guys want to hear about, or address things that you want us to address. Yeah, we're gonna be here, just getting blasted. I'm gonna switch to this.
I mean,
try this.
In my defense, I needed a social lubrication for this first.
It's called a
Yeah.
I call it a personality drink.
Yeah.
I was nervous as shit, dude.
I get very nervous.
I told you I don't belong doing this, but I feel like I might have something to offer.
You did great.
And once you start talking and getting into it, you focus on the conversation. You don't focus on the mics and the cameras and everything
it's
else.
Funny too, because I told you I was thinking about starting my own, just a one-on-one. I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan. I'm not trying to be Joe Rogan. I mean, whatever.
Right.
It wasn't even a financial thing. It was more of a. I wanted to document, me and my friends talking. So when I'm 80 years old, I can go back and listen to. Hopefully, I live to 80.
Yeah.
But I can go back and listen to those moments of
And
when we
reflect
were getting married and having children, and remember this time we did this stupid thing. It's not a picture. It's an audio
Yeah,
thing.
you could revisit it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
cool.
why I want to do that. So when you said you want to do this, I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. It's something I wanted to do initially.
Yeah.
I might still do my own thing just for my own hobby and
Absolutely.
self thing, but I talk all day. I'm in sales, so it's
Right.
and I don't do it well. I do sales well. I don't still talk well.
Right.
But this might help me kind of get over that, thinking ahead of myself, and
Sure.
so.
I'm a
That's
big
fine.
yes person. So if someone asks me to do something, yes, okay, all right, I'm in.
You have to.
Right.
Yeah, totally. And then but when it comes down to it, I'm I actually get kind of nervous, on live. You know what I mean? Because I've had experiences scripted TV. I'm good. You know what I mean? In the zone, live, I'm just
Yeah.
One time, my first time on PA Live, I remember Dave Karchik was interviewing me. I was promoting Shots for Tots, and like we were talking, like, you know, he's like sitting right here, and my lip was like shaking, and like my heart was like going, and I was like getting real like hot, and I was like, oh man, like I don't know what I'm doing. And like after the interview, he's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm totally fine. But he's like, you came off all right. So that was like my first hurdle, you know. And I remember thinking like, man, I don't know if I'm any good at like live. But then, like you said, like after like a little bit, you're just kind of like, all right, you know, comfortable.
Right. Yeah. You just have to, you know, push forward and think about what the focus is, what the point of this is. You know, and I mean, you got to put yourself aside and say, well, what is the greater good? You know, what am I going to accomplish by doing this?
And again, putting yourself out there. And,
sure.
And you know, doing the thing.
Absolutely.
I'm in the scene every day. I mean, I'm you know, theaters and bar owners, like they're the ones hosting these events, and
And I would love to get some of those people on because one of our other shows that we did in the first round of podcasts that we did that was really popular was talking to the bar owners and getting their perspective. Because as much as I love the artists and as much as I love to get their ideas and what they think things are, there's also a business end of things too. There's also the other side of having to host these events and organize them and keep people, organized and straight and not, tearing the place down and everything else, and everybody getting paid fairly or whatever. And there's always those debates about those kinds of things. So I'd like to get some of those people in here too to talk about those ideas.
And going back to this area and how hard work in this area is, those bar owners, man. I used to want to own a bar back when I was like 21. This would be great. This would be awesome. Got a little older. That kind of dwindled a bit. But then when you talk to these guys who are working 80 hours a week, fuck that.
Yeah, it's not all smooth
props
sailing.
to you guys because, and it's you're worried about,
anything could happen.
Yeah, people. Yeah, it's
people get all nuts.
Kudos to you guys. That's
right.
Putting up with everybody's shit.
Well, I will take a couple comments that we got. Brandon Cook said, how about the skate park and climbing gym down by the waterfront? It's a shame that goes to waste. Cheers. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of cool stuff in the area that I think people either just completely aren't aware of.
I'm not aware of that.
Like the fact that last week we had posted about how Saliva is coming to the Leonard Theater, and they put out a sponsored post, and one of the first comments was, "Where the hell's the Leonard? What's the Leonard? I've never heard of it before." And when you think that by posting every single day, like we've been hosting open mics for 2 years now, and I had somebody post on our wall the other day, "Do you know of any open mics in the area?" And I thought, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing? How many times have I promoted this open mic? How do you not know about it? But you can't assume anything. You can't, people have lives, they have families. They have a million things going on. You can't assume that people know this stuff is out there. You constantly have to raise awareness about what's going on. Right. And as cliche as that sounds, raising awareness. But it really is true. You really constantly have to talk these things up and whatever. And I think the other thing too is in cases like that where I believe they're county owned or city owned or whatever, they might not have the resources to keep those things up. Like I know they were doing stuff on the waterfront for a long time. They were doing concerts and things there and stuff, which are really, really cool.
That was tons of money.
Yeah, but it's a lot.
That whole
it's a lot of money and it's a lot of upkeep.
Right.
And having to constantly support that all the time isn't easy, especially when people feel like they're overtaxed, they're overburdened as it is. People around here aren't making the money that they should, and they don't have enough money to go out and spend on these kinds of things. So when you ask them to pay yet another tax to pay for this or that, they're going to be pissed about that.
Yeah, and it's like it was $25. It's like it's not even so much as the money as it is like how many times can you kick me when I'm down?
Right.
Right.
That's
for a different day.
Sure, absolutely. Let's see.
What else you got?
Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Katie Evans says, "Hi, Rich. Awesome podcast. I'm so happy for you." Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We're excited to do more.
One of the matchmakers?
Yeah, one of the people that we did talk about.
Gerard asks, any idea for future guests or how people can get involved? Well, I want you to contact us. My email is richnepascene@gmail.com, or you can just post right on our Facebook wall if you want. You can post in the comments, whatever, your suggestions of people that we should have. What I'd like to do, my idea for it, is to have different kinds of people every week. As much as we do focus on music and we love music, I don't want to have musicians every single week. And there's so many to cover as well. But I think there's so many other cool things going on. There's local actors, local performers, local people that I think make a difference in the community too. I think there's things that we can talk, like one of our shows on the old podcast was about the Keystone landfill and the controversy that has gone into that. And a lot of people told me, do not talk about that because big guys with big money are going to come down on you for doing that. And we did it anyway, and it was a successful show, and it raised a lot of awareness, as we were saying before, about that topic, and about the things that are going on. There's a lot of shady shit going on. There's a lot of pollution, a lot of terrible things that are affecting people's health, affecting people's families right in our area, and a lot of people haven't really paid attention to what's going on there. To be fair, the Scranton Times has done a lot of good coverage on it, so I'm not going to say that the media's ignored it or anything like that, but there's not as much coverage as there should be because of certain connections that go into that landfill, unfortunately. So I'd like to see more coverage of things like that going forward. So if you think there's a cool topic that we should talk about, we'll do that.
That podcast will be the last of
any
of us.
We don't want to do stuff that
I'll
just...
be dumped somewhere.
Yeah, you can find us in that landfill
Yes.
right after that podcast.
No, we don't want to be like this cookie cutter podcast where it's like, hey, what's going on this weekend? Oh, you have this show. Like, okay, great, yay. Like, let's get in depth and let's learn about you and
less
just
fluff.
Let you explain your life to other people, because that goes a long way.
Well, like you said, art, it can be dark. Art can bring out those things in you that you don't want to talk about, and the only way you can talk about it is through music or through your art in some form or another. And I think that those things are important to get into.
And I've seen on Facebook floating around a lot lately, like, you don't know someone else's story. Before you're an asshole to that person, they might be considering suicide or considering this. Let's learn your story. Let's give you an outlet to talk about what you have going on.
Right. Jeff Zick says, do you think the legalization of cannabis in Pennsylvania will improve the scene, music, food, and culture?
Hell yes.
Absolutely. 100%. And I'm not a person who really partakes that often. If it's offered to me, maybe.
I get tested, so I can't.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I want it to be legal so that I can.
Sure. But, thankfully my job, my boss is very lenient when it comes to these things. So I can, but yeah, I think, and maybe when, I know Jeff is involved with, there's an event coming up at Naog Park. I believe it's within the next month or so. It's a cannabis rally. It's a statewide event. It's really cool. We've covered it in the past, and they have a lot of cool speakers there, music all day, things like that. I'm sure we can get Jeff or somebody on here to talk about those things that are much more informed about it than I am. But I'll definitely say that I think those, especially now when Pennsylvania is so freaking broke, along with the rest of the country, it's stupid.
It's as far as I'll go. I'm not going to get into it because I don't know enough to talk about it more than this. But when you have a governor who says, well, let's wait and see what Colorado does.
Right.
It's like, well, they've been doing it for 3 years, and they have so much money that they have like 2 tax-free days a year.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
There's the best economy too there, right?
It just, and whatever. We'll get to that. Sure.
So Holly asks your favorite local beer. I started with lager. It was the first thing because I really hated beer originally. I was not a beer guy in college or anything, and lager was the first beer I could drink. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can understand why people drink this. So that was my go-to for a long time. I like more the craft stuff now. I like anything by Susquehanna Brewing Company. I think is killing it right now. They put out some awesome stuff. So I like a little bit. I like the stouts and things like that. But I'll have an IPA or something every once in a while.
Off with Lion's Head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like $10 a case.
Yeah, case. Yeah, that's true. You can't go wrong with that, right?
Speaking of,
I don't know what I started off with. Probably Keystone Light. To be honest, just because of the price,
Sure.
But now I'm a beer snob. Like, we got a mix and match 6-pack here. Like, not a snob, but I want to check my beers in. My friends will bust my balls because I want to check in everywhere. But no, Untapped has a cool app that you just kind of like check your beers in, rate them, and tell your friends who you're drinking with.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's social media. Untapped.
Untapped. Got it.
It's social media. It's whatever. My friends bust my balls, but you know what?
Screw 'em. You like what you like.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why not? Joe Cavison says, "Love it. This is a dangerous trio." That is for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Especially with the booze and
Yeah. I think it will only get more dangerous and will only piss more people off as we continue to broadcast.
Well, Joe's got a successful thing going. He's got the Point After Show.
Yes,
sports related.
Point After Show, really cool podcast. If you're a sports guy, I would recommend it.
Absolutely.
And he also co-organizes the Electric City Music Conference, which is a really cool event that we get involved with every year.
So much fun.
Yeah, great stuff, and so important because again, I think it's one of those things that no one else would do unless he did it.
Right.
Because by now, with the local music that we have and the level of talent that we have, the fact that we haven't had an awards thing for them up until now, I think says a lot that no one else is going to do it unless somebody else steps up and does it. And he's certainly not doing it to, push himself up on a pedestal or anything like that.
That's
it's all, it's all about.
It's for the scene too, with how inclusive it is and like just all the things that are happening and again, the camaraderie, between like everybody and all the musicians. That's what it's all about.
The cannabis rally is April 26th, by the way. Thank you, Katie.
My dad's birthday is 27th.
Oh, okay. All right.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Not the exact day, but whatever.
Absolutely. But what I was we were talking about before, and we can kind of wrap up with was we started streaming the open mics that we do. Not fancy like this, just using my cell phone until it overheats like it did last night. But streaming the open mics, and we had a really good one last night. Like it was kind of. When you do anything for as long as we have, the hardest thing isn't starting a project or getting people excited about an initial project. It's keeping the momentum going. And it's keeping people excited and interested and keep tuning in and turning new people on to it and so on and so forth. Because when we did, our first open mic was at the Woodlands in Wilkes-Barre, and then we moved to Thirsties in Oliphant, and we started doing NEPA Scene's Got Talent, which is an open mic event where you can win prizes and money and things like that. We've given over $5,000 in cash to local artists. We've given, I think around $4,500 in prizes as well to local artists.
Didn't the comedian get a real good gig out of state right after he won?
A trip and things like that. Got a CD recorded as a result. We had 2 CDs recorded actually as a result of that because they were able to get studio time and things to he got a live comedy album out of it, which is cool. So things like that those opportunities that wouldn't be there otherwise. And it's been a fun event. And at the same time, as we were saying before about the cynics in the area, you have when we'll live stream, most people are pretty supportive. Hey, yeah, cool, that guy's funny or whatever. And then you get a couple armchair critics like, oh, that guy's not funny. Oh, get better acts. First of all, the whole get better acts thing, it's an open mic. I'm not sure if you understand what an open mic is, but anyone can show up, whether they're good or not good or whatever. And most people, especially comedians, use open mics to test material, see whether it's good or not. So, you could be constructive. You might not want to shit on somebody because I mean, I love that Dave Chappelle has 2 new specials on Netflix,
Yep.
that I'm looking forward to watching this weekend. But I guarantee you that Dave Chappelle did not start off at an open mic as funny as he is now.
Right. You know
There's
what
no
works.
way.
You know your audience.
You gotta test.
Sure. Yeah, you have to test
Takes
it.
practice.
It's so important. Oh, we have a message. Oh, this is good.
Handwritten letter.
Oh,
Telegram.
They're okay, so the cannabis rally is the 23rd, not the 26th. So, yeah,
We're not perfect.
well, if you're smoking too much, I can understand why you would mix up the dates. I get it, but
I thought that was going to be way more interesting
Yeah, I
and
thought that was a
exciting
troll.
than that.
yeah,
I was like ready to go.
I thought that
I
was
was-
someone ragging you, dude.
I was hoping.
Oh, well.
He sent a
next
handwritten
time.
letter.
Morse code.
But
yeah.
I enjoy trolling those guys back and making because like we had a guy recently. We were saying this on the way up to record this. There's a guy a bunch of local bands got together, punk and hardcore bands, and did a benefit for Planned Parenthood, and they raised $3,000.
It was awesome. I was there. It was awesome.
Yeah, great show. We had one of our columnists was there to talk about it and gave a cool perspective on the show. And this guy is another armchair critic is like, that's not what art is for. It's got an agenda. And I'm like, I think that's what a lot of art is for.
Yeah.
Like, especially punk and hardcore is about what you believe in, standing up for
Right.
who you are and things like that. So to say like what somebody's art is or isn't or whatever. So I said what are you doing? I said
Yeah.
you're sitting here on Facebook yelling at nobody because nobody's paying attention to you but me because I'm getting the notifications on my phone. No one else
Yeah.
cares what you think. But it's,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Is this for me?
oh this is
I should read it?
Can I-
Oh, boy. This is from my boss, Dave Mihal. John needs to go for a random drug test tomorrow. Shit. No, like I told you, I get.
It's been a good career.
I got tested 3 times in 1 year.
wow.
Yeah.
They're on top of that.
Yeah, I got tested. Well, I don't want to take up too much time.
Sure.
We're already 12 minutes over. Whatever. I actually at one point left media.
Okay.
I was gone for 6 months.
Yeah.
Probation. No, I'm kidding. No, I felt like I was like, I need to get out of sales. Like,
Whoops, sorry. I was trying to share this.
oh boy, Jesus.
I really effed this
That's
one
like
up.
my terrible voice in my
Echoing
ear. Like,
back at you.
Jesus. Like,
Oh.
I got my boss in one ear. I got you in my left.
Here I
Jesus
go again.
Christ. But so I left for 6 months. I wanted to get out of sales, and that was probably the worst thing I ever did. Multiple reasons. I won't get into those, but one of them, probably one of the top 2, was because I missed working with local businesses. I loved it. I that's why I'm back in it. I was working for a company who did online marketing stuff for let's call it affiliate marketing for like big companies, Target, BJ's, shit like that. And I'm like, you know what? I don't give a shit about making those companies more money.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd rather talk to Tommy Tell at Thirsties and work with Steve and Pat at Rastro and like on a local level, eye to eye, hand to hand, and like get shit done. Like I had no interest in making these other people companies money. I just didn't. So I 6 months later, I got out of it. I'm in a fortunate position where I'm with back with Time Shamrock and locally owned, locally operated, and but yeah, that year I got tested 3 times. I got tested to get back into the job. I got in a car accident. Some lady blew a red light, totaled my car, and won randomly tested. So I was 3 times in 1 year. It was like 8 months.
Shit.
So yeah, I can't smoke weed.
But you can say, hey, you know what? It should be legalized because think of all the money we can make alone.
I'm just sick of PA being broke.
Yeah.
Like I want the financial gains for our state.
Sure.
And we'll get into that. So I'll keep going. Don't.
I'm sure we'll get into.
Thank you, Dave. Any Hall.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I went to high school with him actually. We graduated the same year.
He's all right.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So, but yeah, I mean, long story short, my last word for tonight is essentially screw armchair critics. If you've got something to say, come out to an open mic or something like that. Get on stage and say it. Actually do something about it. Don't sit there and criticize other people. Give your friends a thumbs up, but give the other guy a thumbs down. You don't, like you said, you don't know what that person's going through. You don't know what that means to them, to get up there and do those kinds of things.
It takes balls. It takes a lot. Like, not.
And you think, oh, it's just a local bar or whatever. It still does.
It does.
You're in front of complete strangers.
It takes
and
balls
you're
in
putting
any
yourself
capacity.
out there.
I'm still red right now because I'm nervous. But,
Or it's
and there's no one here watching us.
Yeah,
I cannot see anyone here.
Right.
The open mic, there's people there. So
Absolutely.
good for you guys. Keep doing it.
Keep doing the thing.
Yeah, we're gonna be here until my body ends up in the landfill.
Yeah, until that
Otherwise-
specific episode.
Yes.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky said that.
Thank you. That's true though.
Or one of the other local media companies puts one.
Yeah, we all hits on us now.
Yeah.
Shit.
Which,
Well, it's been a good year.
Yeah, well, this has been fun.
but yeah, all right. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. This was a lot of fun. This was us getting to know how we're going to do this as much as you getting to know what we're going to be doing in the future. But please tune in the future. We're going to have some really, really cool guests on the show, a variety of different people doing really great stuff right here in Northeastern Pennsylvania. Please do not think that this area does not have something to offer each and every one of you. I think there's so many cool people doing cool things in the area, and they just don't get enough credit or enough recognition, enough of a spotlight. So we're hoping to do that. And to do it in a way that's a little bit different than everybody else is doing. So I hope you enjoyed this show, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.